This is Knights of the Nerd Republic, episode 53, featuring Sean from Blue Bantha Milk Co.
The Nerd Academy podcast is released weekly at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, available on our website at www.thenerdacademypodcast.com and wherever you listen to podcasts. You can find the Nerd Academy podcast on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. You can also help support the show by going to patreon.com/The Nerd Academy podcast, where every donation allows us to bring you more exciting content every week.
Hello there and welcome back to Knights of the Nerd Republic, the show where your favorite nerds bring you all the nerd and commentary from the galaxy far, far away. I am your host, Jarod the Dark Jedi Bachman Stubbs, and joining me is your favorite Gungan Sith Lord, Professor Levi Baum.
Oh, boys! Hello, everybody. This is my first time on this show since we got the rig all set up.
Yeah. Yes, there definitely was an attempt at an episode this past weekend, and I definitely didn't beat Spencer at Trivial Pursuit. But who's counting? But we are joined all the way from the land down under. That will be my last minute work joke, I promise. By Sean from Blue Bantha Milk Co.
Hello, thank you for having me, and please make as many minute work jokes as you want.
Well, I'll keep that in mind. We are a little bit late on the boat to the train. I'm mixing my metaphors. He slept in. I took a nap right before I did this show. It's a hot mess. Sean just woke up. Let's go. Between the break we took for the holidays and to finish the studio up, we kind of didn't record an episode about The Mandalorian Season 2. So here we are. Mando Season 2 talk. Better late than never. Before we hop in, Sean, just overall thoughts on Season 2.
It's... I don't want to be I don't want to start this off on a negative. And it's not really a negative, but like, I think my thing with Mandalorian and Mandalorian 2 sort of locked it in, is I do think that this show is like, it's I don't know if it's always going to be like this, but it's so very aggressively fine. I think it's I don't think it's like the greatest thing that's ever happened to television, like a lot of people. I don't think it's the best thing in Star Wars by any stretch of the imagination. I think it's perfectly good. It's a perfectly good show. I find it entertaining, but I find it entertaining in the way that I find something like the MCU entertaining. Love watching it, enjoy it while I'm watching it, but I don't really find myself craving it. You know, outside of the 8 weeks that it's on, I'm sort of like, oh, that's really cool, and then it's just that's it. And then I don't tend to rewatch it until maybe like closer to when the new season comes out, anything like that. Which sounds incredibly negative now that I've actually said that out loud, when I was like, oh, I don't want to be negative, but like, you know, I don't like watching the show, but I do enjoy it when it's on. I just don't think it's I think it's got a long way to go to become like something really truly great. I think it's still stumbling its way there. I think season 2 was probably stronger than season 1, but I think I think there's still ways to go with this.
I think you make a great point, though. I am inclined to agree with you quite a bit on the I don't get excited for it until it's already come, because that's exactly how I am. I have such a hard time getting excited for it. Just like, oh yeah, cool, Mando's coming. And then like once the show starts up, it's all I think about.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's it. Like while it's there, like during the period that it's like exists, like I say, those 8 weeks, I am like, it's the highlight of my week. My week builds to it. And then Friday night I watch it and then do something like this. Usually I stream or me and Matt talk about it. But what I'll tend to find is like, so we get it Friday night in Australia. We get it 7 p.m. Friday night, which is fantastic. And then me and Matt will tend to stream. I know, it's incredible, isn't it? It was pretty good because like first season, obviously we were getting it like 7 p.m. Friday night. But like in England, they didn't get it until like March the following year. You know, they were completely out of the loop. But we'll sort of watch it Friday night, and then Saturday morning we'll stream with Americans who obviously have had to watch it over the night. And Matt will be like, "Oh, you know, I rewatched this episode 3 times, and I found all this cool stuff. What about you?" And I'm like, "Oh no, I watched it, didn't make any notes, and I'm happy to talk about it for an hour."
Yes, that's very much like you, Levi.
Yeah.
Well, no, I mean, I had the added benefit of, like, you know, having my little sister around. I got to have the, you know, I'd watch it at dark 30 when it dropped because I have zero self-restraint and had to make sure I was catching it day of.
Of course.
Try to beat the spoilers. Then I would rewatch it with her. And if I got a chance, try to catch one last viewing before we would record about it. So I was going in like 3 viewings deep for each episode most of the time, having watched like everybody do a stream about it. So I was on the complete opposite end of the spectrum and still have a hard time reconciling the fact that when the Mandalorian's kind of off season, that I'm like, yeah, I like it.
Hey, Jarod, did you by chance turn your microphone the wrong way?
I'm going to try to figure that out. So you talk about it.
yeah,
I'm going to try to fight with that.
Talk about the Mandalorian?
Yeah.
Okay.
Initial thoughts.
Yeah.
Stuff in that.
So to be upfront, I was very not as anal about watching it day of as you, Jarod. But I did always make sure to watch it at least, you know, the week it came out, every new episode. And I'm not online too much, so I don't get many spoilers, so it doesn't really matter. The first episode was really good, but then every episode that came out got a little shorter, and then a little shorter, and then a little shorter. So like, there's that lack of consistency there. And I mean, I'll get into this more perhaps later, but with season 2 especially, it kind of felt like I was coming to watch the episode not for the main cast, but to see, you know, who's the special star today.
Yeah, that's fair.
It's
There's a little bit of that.
It's like Pringles, right?
Oh my god.
This is the original Pringle packet. Okay, the real OG started everything. So you go into the Pringle aisle, but then you see there are like dozens of Pringle flavors who are going to make a guest appearance in your pantry. You are no longer coming for the original. You know? And I think that's something that Mando suffers from, is that they have all of these other interesting characters from Star Wars who are trying to get their foot in the door in the live-action adaptation so they can have their own spin-offs. So that's my main gripe with it. As much as I loved seeing many of the guest appearances, you know, it took away from The Mandalorian and it became, it should be titled all of these Star Wars characters, right? Like the
Din
Mandalorian.
And Friends.
Yeah.
Mandalorian featuring this week.
I do think that is a valid criticism, and I don't 100% agree with it, but there are some moments that do feel that way, because especially when you look at like the fan discourse, I see more people talking about Luke than I see people still talking about being hurt that Grogu and Din parted ways. You know?
Well, yeah. I mean, an element of that, though, is that kind of the worst people in fandom have managed to, like, weaponize that Luke scene to make it, like, this sort of... so something in there, sort of, in that argument that, you know, the people who made Star Wars hate Star Wars, which is odd. And I think it's just like managed to pick up steam and keep going. Like we did do a stream afterwards and talked about it, and we were sort of like, no, that was cool that Luke was there, but the actual Din Grogu parting thing was incredible. That was the better part of the episode. But like you say, it is interesting now that you do keep seeing that Luke image, but people have sort of like, people very quickly got over Baby Yoda, didn't they? They were very quickly just like, oh, okay, that's that then.
Yeah.
Yeah, and exactly, Levi, the you just made is exactly it. That in like kind of that same criticism of it feels like it's a show where Din meets other cooler people. Like there's the whole joke about the Mandalorian being the Baby Yoda show, that he wasn't even the star, that we all kind of joked about. And while again, I think that's funny, but if not a little bit reductive, there is some weight to that. That I do think in some ways that is a little bit of a valid criticism to make about the show. But regardless, I see where you guys are coming from. To be like the mouth breathing, Blaster Go Burr. My God, I love this season so much. It was just, for me, it surprised me despite the fact that I knew so much of what was coming. Like everybody who kind of works the same beat that we all do have known about Ahsoka and Bo-Katan and Boba Fett and Cobb Vanth since 2019.
Yeah.
At the very earliest for some of these leaks. So turning around and still being giddy to see that Cobb in the premiere and see Bo and see Ahsoka and Boba Fett, especially Boba Fett. I give a shit about Boba Fett now. Really, really, really excited me. And there was something about the presentation that I think is what gets it right. I don't want to kind of do the whole, it's all Favreau and Filoni, because that undercuts the work that all of the directors working with them do. In the same way that, I'm rewatching Clone Wars right now with my sister as well. And I'm noticing more and more episodes that aren't explicitly written by Dave Filoni.
Yeah.
But that everybody loves. But he's the one who's kind of like, gets like the weird hero worship, which is deserved. He's deserved to be talked about as like one of the dons of Star Wars because he is. However, it's not just Dave and John. It was never just Dave. And there's a lot of work being put in by a lot of brilliant creatives. And I think that goes unsung a lot of the time, and I think that's unfortunate. But I really enjoyed this season as somebody who loves The Last Jedi, loves Luke in The Last Jedi. I have such a hard time understanding how Luke's scene in this is a repudiation of The Last Jedi. That argument makes zero sense to me because I feel like it is showing the legend he is talking about in the past tense come episode 8. And I don't know. I really like this season. I like how it caps off and, keeping it in conversation with the MCU like you were, Sean. I like that there is a little bit of like a mini Favreau-averse within Star Wars television that, it's more, honestly, it's more comparable to like the DC CW stuff that is all meant to be crossed over. But
they all kind of build up to like a big event season, don't they? Each event episodes or whatever each season.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which is what Kathleen Kennedy was saying. She was like, each of these shows will eventually sort of all connect into, a big event, which I think is pretty cool.
Well, that's what I'm the most excited about, is that the more and more we add to this puzzle of, okay, so the Book of Boba Fett ties in the Mandalorian, as will Rangers, as will Ahsoka. Like, knowing that what will most likely be the Thrawn story intersecting with the Mandalorian somehow excites the hell out of me. And I love that they're building it in that way and give full kudos to John, Dave, Kathy, and everybody who was on board with that decision of having it all be like its own mini Star Wars CW. That said, Levi, I am unable to open my notes. So what is the first... what's first on our docket with the review here?
Our favorite episode we're going to talk about.
All right, favorite episode of the season. Sean, the floor is yours, my friend.
Yeah, no, my favorite by a long way was the Bo-Katan one, the first one.
Okay.
I thought I thought the first two episodes were cool. They were fine. They were interesting. The Crate Dragon thing was incredible. Like the effects and everything just completely destroyed me. But that one, Bryce Dallas Howard is just incredible. Like as a director for like doing very little before this. I just thought that was great. Everything about that episode worked for me. I thought it was funny. I thought it was exciting. It had some cool moments. It was cool callbacks. It was like a real, because I was quite disappointed by the sort of the way the Ahsoka episode turned out. Like I thought there was cool bits in it, but it didn't really I was more hyped for that than I was for Bo-Katan appearing. And then quite surprisingly, Bo-Katan's appearance was much better for me. Like I thought they really nailed that. Like the jump from animation to live action. Obviously, we're being the same actress. That was pretty cool. I think it really opened up the world in terms of like, you know, when you kind of realize that Mando might be in a cult and stuff like that. I thought Titus Welliver was great as the Imperial. No, I just loved it. I thought that was fantastic. That was like the most solid episode. And also it had the fish dude in the knitted sweater who was kind of annoyed at the spaceship being in a shitty condition. I was like, this is great. This is really good. This is really good.
I enjoy the Heiress a lot as well. It was one of those. I got excited by it by virtue of it being kind of the beginning of Clone Wars being required watching for The Mandalorian, as required as it needs to be. And I was very impressed by how well they integrated her without bringing the story to a screeching halt.
Yeah.
That she's another Mandalorian and she's off doing her own thing, and just enough for the general audience, while for the more dedicated, I don't want to say dedicated, but like somebody who's been around for a little bit longer maybe and has watched Clone Wars going, oh damn, and starting to connect the dots, and the way that one begs you to watch the other. That like inter-content synergy makes me very happy. I thought the fights were super well choreographed, and Bo's just an absolute hard ass. So, Levi, thoughts on the Heiress?
It was nice.
It was nice. You liked it?
I forget what happened in that one.
So
did they blow up a building?
Starship. Yeah.
A starship. Oh.
No, it was the boat. It was the space boat.
Yeah.
Space boat.
Yeah.
Space boat.
Yeah, it sounds right.
That one, we got the reunion between Frog Lady and Frog Husband.
Oh. Okay. Yeah, it was nice. But shorter than I would have liked it to be. You know.
That's fair.
Bo-Katan was never my favorite. So, yeah, that was one guest appearance that really I didn't care about. But it makes sense for The Mandalorian. I will say that, you know.
Yeah, I remember, you know, once at the end of season 1, we see Moff Gideon with the Darksaber, and everybody pretty much unanimously, who was like aware of like the way the Darksaber had changed hands leading up to that, went, oh, either she's going to be in the show or she's already 6 feet deep.
Yeah.
So the knowing that they didn't just kill her off screen makes me very happy. Mm-hmm. I'm still futzing with my mic here. Levi, what was your favorite episode of the season?
My favorite would either have to be the very first episode when we got a full episode or the last episode when everything wrapped up. I'm going to go with the last one.
Yeah.
I really like the action in that. I really like how everything wrapped up and prepared us for future seasons. Not a fan of the Dark Troopers. Not gonna lie, they don't look like Star Wars characters to me. They look like they would be in, I don't know, Battlestar or something else, just not Star Wars. It's weird. I don't know how else to justify my opinion on that.
I mean, that's valid. Like, some things just have a certain look, and that's not necessarily the Star Wars aesthetic for you. That's valid.
But like I said, all the action scenes were really cool. The acting for Moff Gideon, beautiful in that episode.
Giancarlo deserves an Emmy for that episode alone. You're out, yeah.
And then
No, he's amazing.
Oh my god, the scene with Luke, just goes so good,
So, like, I feel like everybody has had the same experience with the Luke scene.
The light side hallway scene.
It's the light side hallway scene, and I wish I had a camera on me whenever I was watching it, because I'm sitting there and the Dark Troopers are beating down the door, and then you hear the beeping, and then the one X-Wing fly by. The very loud exclamation I made at 4 a.m. Because I think the genius of it being Luke is that I think everybody was counting out Luke. At least for me, I didn't...
Because it was too obvious.
It's too obvious and too impractical to pull off, in theory.
It's both, like you say, it's obvious and impossible. So you're like, okay, well, this would be the best thing they could do, but they can't do it because Hamill's in his 60s. Okay, unless it's going to be Sebastian Stan and blah, 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 blah. But yeah, no, and then, but as soon as, like you say, as soon as that X-Wing shows up, you're like, oh, this is going to get wild.
I come back, and this is a reference to a different thing and a very specific reference. But it's like the first episode of the Buffy the Vampire Slayer spinoff, Angel. I don't know if anybody here is familiar or ever heard of it. Hopefully somebody listening. But there's a scene where one of Angel's pals, Cordelia, is like being held up by a vampire, and Angel shows up to start dealing out some justice. And Cordelia just kind of starts chuckling to herself because clearly, like, the villain there has no idea who he's dealing with. And she just kind of laughs and very loudly goes, "Oh, buddy, you're about to get your ass kicked." And like that, the moment that X-Wing does its flyby, it's like, oh, it's over. Y'all just pack it up and go home. Just, there's no point. I love it. There's something very fun, and I'm glad that it is done sparingly with having a hero be a foreboding presence. And that there's a certain release that I think you get from
it.
Where it's just like, dude, like you're scary to a bunch of people with blasters. I'm a Jedi Master. Sit the fuck down. Where it's that it gives me chills. I can't think of many other like examples of like the hero is the one who's getting let off their chain. Like the series finale of Justice League Unlimited, where Superman does the whole, I live in a world made of cardboard and this presents me with a rare opportunity to cut loose, where he beats Darkseid into a pulp. Like, I love those moments where the hero is the force of nature. And as cool as it is to see, Maul do that in the end of Clone Wars, and obviously the Vader Rogue One scene, there's something really potent about it when it's a good guy that I think that element of the scene is not praised enough, because that's probably my favorite bit of it. For me,
dude.
Oh, what were you saying?
You know how I keep telling you to watch or read One Piece?
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to do that even more now.
We will. I want to. I mean, we started it. It's gonna.
Yeah,
be
we did.
So for me, favorite episode. I always talk about how like I have finale bias. So I want to say the reunion, because that's really easy for me to pick. You've said that one. I don't want to keep harping on that episode as a whole because I think we're going to end up talking about it a lot as we go. So aside from the reunion, I actually really enjoyed the tragedy.
Is that that's the Boba Fett one, yeah?
Yeah, that's where Boba comes back.
Yeah.
It is definitely the shortest episode. So
like that one.
by that metric, Levi's least favorite.
It's my least favorite for other reasons too, but go ahead.
I really enjoy the fight choreography. I enjoy being introduced to it feels like a newer version of Boba Fett. And that is where my whole like I give a shit about Boba Fett comes from, is that it feels like, at least for me, Boba is meant to be this prototype for every bounty hunter character in Star Wars. And because of that, Boba feels so old hat most of the time when we see him. That it is that, cold, put him in the cargo hold type, ice cold blood. And here, he's still ruthless and still incredibly violent. But there's this like new sense of honor from him that feels new and different for him. And I really like that. I like his whole, I'm going to help you get the kid back. And how uncharacteristic of what you think Boba Fett would do being there. And I really latched on to that. I kind of really, really started to enjoy him as a character. And it's not like all of a sudden, like, he comes on from watching Empire Strikes Back or Jedi, and I'm going to get super excited for him. Because it's not quite the Boba Fett I like a lot.
No.
It feels like, and I said this before, and I got dogpiled on the episode we did reviewing it, because I was saying, like, it feels like something happened to him in the Sarlacc. That, like, he had an epiphany about the life he was living and, like, wanted to do something different. And I want to see that expanded upon. I want to see why somebody, the same Boba Fett who was going to try to shoot Luke Skywalker while he was busy fighting other people.
Yeah.
Is the same guy who's going to put himself and his partner on the line to save a kid he's never met.
You want
Well,
Boba
he
Fett?
sort of kind of veered into like Ronin territory, hasn't he? That sort of like helping the people who are there. I'm sure there's profit to be made in some capacity. It's like okay, well, you've given me the armor, so I sort of owe you, because you could have kept the armor. This could have turned into a real messy thing, but and so on and so on. So, and that's cool. Like you said, it's very different from someone who was going to shoot Luke in the back. And who was like hanging around with Jabba and wanted to just, whatever, for the highest bidder. I'm hoping that the Book of Boba Fett has, I'm sure that will be part of it, explaining the thing and sort of like flashbacks or something like that to kind of give you his, well, with it being called the Book of Boba Fett, maybe it is going to kind of go back and explain how he ends up where he is in Empire, maybe how he ends up from Return of the Jedi to the Mandalorian. I don't know. But there's a lot of scope to take a character who had become this kind of synonym for like badass character and is now quite interesting. And I think for a lot of people, it's gone from being like, oh yeah, Boba Fett looks cool, but what else, to being like, oh yeah, no, this character's great. I will watch a TV show with him in. Because when they first announced The Mandalorian, I was like, is this going to be a show about Boba Fett? Who wants that? Who needs that? And then when it was like the post credits thing and the book of Boba Fett, was like, "Ooh, sweet, yeah, I'm in, I'm down. That sounds really cool." So, yeah, no, I think that is, I think that episode was cool for that, for like kind of completely in the space of 30 minutes or less, just rehabilitating that character to be someone, not just like someone who's, oh yeah, this guy's super cool, but like someone who seems quite interesting. And Tamora Morrison's amazing. Like that sort of very, that sort of, he's got that big Kiwi accent and just kind of just looks he's just formidable. He's just a formidable dude, isn't he? He just looks like he would just like be able to just pick you up by your head and just put you through a wall.
And that's cool. That's one of the reasons why I love the episode so much, is that like I love seeing this use of the Boba Fett armor beyond just like pew pew. Where he's using almost like he uses every part of the armor, like down to the knee darts. And as cool as that is, and again, you can tell that Robert Rodriguez is the one who directed that episode because of the way that Boba is shot while he's fighting with the Gaddafi, with like the crazed look in his eyes while he's like pulverizing stormtroopers. And it is exactly that formidable nature of Tamora Morrison. All the way down to his accent. I could listen. I just want an audiobook that is him reading a phone book, and that'll be the way I fall asleep every night. I just love this is my father, Jango Fett, and me, Boba Fett. Like it's like his inflection on certain words that I love so much too, and that's such a not like minor niche thing to love about his performance, but it is. Also, old man Boba looks way cooler than like classic Boba. Like I love the black robes with the armor up top with like the new paint job. Oh,
big scars.
Yeah, the scars on his face. Yeah.
No, it's cool. I'm quite lucky. Well, obviously pre-COVID, I was quite lucky that part of my work sends me to New Zealand a few times a year. And it's awesome. I just love going to New Zealand. It's just incredible. Like I spend most of my time in Auckland, but occasionally I go to other little places. And Kiwis, such cool people. Just incredibly dry sense of humor, absolutely lovely, super welcoming. Just the coolest. And New Zealand. If the entire country of New Zealand is listening to this podcast, got a lot of love. So
Sean, I think you're onto something with Boba Fett getting some profit out of his actions. I don't quite agree with Jarod about Boba finding Jesus in the Sarlacc pit. I definitely think he has it out for the remnants of the Empire for some reason, and also the remnants of Jabba's palace.
That's the thing is like, and I think
he's on a revenge mission.
And I agree with that part. And that was part of the conversation I was trying to have with Joel in the last episode of Knights, is that like I don't think Boba's completely reformed. And I think that I've made this conversation hard for myself for no reason, because I never shut the hell up about Ben-demption. That I think I've convinced all you guys that I think every villain can do a 180. And I don't think Boba's done a full 180. I think he's a better person. And I think he's skewing a little bit more towards light side than he used to. But I absolutely think that he wants blood from the Empire and what's left of Jabba's Empire. I think that he looks at them as the reason why he ended up in the gut of a Sarlacc for however long he was in one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that I can be down with, but no. Becoming like a good person. Oh, maybe is it too late? Like Merry Christmas, everyone. No. I think he's found new people to genocide.
Well, we will see with the Book of Boba Fett, and I'm still very excited for it. What's our next
favorite moment?
Oh, favorite moment of the season. I give you the floor, my friend, Sean.
Favorite moment that's not a fight, because that's also a topic.
Yeah.
Favorite moment. It's not a fight.
If you want to lump them together, you can. If that makes your life easier.
I think actually the episode, the Carl Weathers episode, the Siege. Don't know why that was called the Siege. No. I think the best moment of the whole season was the Tarantino-esque thing with Miggs and Mask Lustin and the Imperial officer. That sort of, I thought that was excellent. Like, I don't necessarily the motivation for getting Din to take off the helmet so we could do like the capture and prove that he wasn't a robot or whatever. That was a little bit like, okay, well, I'm hoping they come back to that at some point and maybe he has some sort of past with the Imperials and that's why it would work, but that doesn't matter. That's a different topic for another day. But I thought that was cool when they're talking about Operation Cinder. And it was just sort of building to, it was like the second they sat down, you're like, right, this is going to end in blood, but I'm not sure how. And it had in my, it made me think of Inglourious Bastards, like, when you've got you got Michael Fassbender and the Nazi and they're playing cards and it's like building and building and building. And at some point someone's going to end up pulling a gun. So yeah, no, I love that. I thought that was really cool. Like that, the show does occasionally sort of break free of like its constraints and do like awesome. Actually, you know what? That might be my favorite episode because I'm thinking that chase scene as well was pretty amazing when they're on the driving the truck.
The transport,
and that was very, that was very Indiana Jones, and that was pretty cool. I changed my vote. That's actually my favorite episode.
So the Siege
and that.
No, that was,
not the Siege. I don't know. Some sort of vague noun. I don't know, but that episode, like I thought that episode was probably the better one. And I like that thing with Miggs and the Imperial, and I like the chase scene. I thought that chase scene was incredible. Rick Famuyiwa is just like, he deserves to be making like massive, big budget movies. And hopefully he does from this, because every time he touches Mandalorian, it's gold. Like, I think he's just incredible. And he wrote the episode, which I always appreciate. So yeah, that scene with Miggs and the Imperial was probably my favorite.
Is Miggs Bill Burr?
Yeah, Miggs Mayfeld.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well,
you don't care for Space
redundant, but that's also my favorite scene. That's my favorite moment.
It's a great scene, and Sean, you're really onto something with the Inglourious Bastards comparison.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah. No, well, that's what it made me think of. And then the ending when he shot him, I was like, oh yeah, and that's like Django Unchained. It's like I couldn't resist.
Yep.
He shoots Leonardo DiCaprio. Like that sort of thing of like, at some point this Imperial's just going to say something stupid and he's going to get a bullet in his ass for his trouble, like, and you're just waiting for that moment, and you're sort of the fourth person sat at the table just like exchanging looks with Din, being like, what do we do? Do we leave? Do we leave them here? Should we just go? What's about to happen? Should we just start shooting now? But yeah, no, I thought that was excellent.
I think the Django comparison also begs itself because this is like the first Southern Imperial officer in the history of lore that I could think of. Like, oh no, Eli Vanto technically, but there's still that like real Southern drawl back on Contraxi. Like it, I don't know. It made him more sinister and very much like Calvin Candy, which helps that scene move along.
Yeah, it's different to have an Imperial, because obviously in the original trilogy, because they were filming in England, they just got like local theatre and television actors to play the Imperials. So when you grow up in England, like I did, all of the actors from like all the Imperials, you're like, oh, that guy was on this soap opera, and that guy was the principal, and he was the headmaster in the school show that I used to watch, So it was quite weird to have, an American Imperial played by a Welsh actor, like played by someone from the UK. But yeah, so it's kind of like you could kind of chart it and be like, if you want to go full nerd on it, be like, oh, okay, so are the Imperials now recruiting from some more like backwater places to fill out their ranks because they've lost so many people? But yeah, no, I thought that was cool.
That's a great point with the way the Imperials are recruiting now. They got a Welsh guy to do a Southern American accent for Star Wars. That is such a great combo. I did not know that. I didn't know that guy wasn't from like Tennessee for the way he sounded. That's amazing. That's so cool. I did not know that. Thank you.
Well, I recognized him from somewhere and I couldn't place it, so I Googled him, and he is just one of those actors who's been in loads and loads of stuff. And I think like the weirdest one, he was the original Night King in Game of Thrones before they like at some point they recast.
Oh yeah, that's right. There's a change who was like in that makeup outfit, whatever it was. I forgot that they recast him.
But he's in like, when you look at his IMDb, he's in just like tons of stuff, playing just that sort of role. He's just like that sort of guy. He's got that face, and that's how he's making his money. He's like at some point just been like, I got this face, I'm just gonna have to do it. So I'm just always gonna be this kind of sleazy villain who probably gets shot at the end of the episode. But yeah.
Levi, further thoughts on that moment from the episode that none of us can remember the title of?
It's the best acting Bill Burr's ever done. It's the only acting he's ever done in The Mandalorian. Every other time he was just Bill Burr.
Bill Burr in space.
So,
Bill Burr in space.
Yeah. Beautiful. Like it's also kind of funny that he does the best acting when he's not talking.
It's just eyes and scowls.
It's like he's able to act, and that you learn something new every day. That was when I learned he can actually play a character instead of just himself in a show, which is cool,
Actually, you know what other scene it reminds me of?
Go ahead.
The Godfather.
Oh,
When it's like they're in the cafe with the Turk, Salazzo, and Pacino's about to kill him. And there's a scene just before he pulls the gun where he's like, you can hear what the Salazzo is saying, but the camera's just on Corleone, and you can see it all in his face. And you're right, like the best acting that Bill Burr does is when he's like listening, and you can see it just like twisting inside him, and he's just waiting to explode. Like, so good.
Yeah. And that's what made it for me, because it is so. Bill Burr is just like a staple face as far as I'm concerned, right? So like I go into it expecting something in particular. When he slows down and uses his facial expressions to act, that caught me off guard, and I think that helped build up the tension in that scene because I knew who Bill Burr was.
No, it's very true. They played on your expectations.
Yeah.
And we're like, no, we can get a performance out of this guy. Because like once it was like, oh, this is going to be Bill Burr and Mando infiltrating it, and you're like, oh, is this going to be like an 80s sort of like wisecracking idiot and the stoic dude, and it's going to be like, Arnie and Jim Belushi in Red Heat or something.
Right.
It was a bit of that, like
it's such a specific reference, but you're so right.
that I could have made a reference to about 11 million films, but for some reason that was the one that jumped into my head. There's probably like 5 other Arnie movies I could have said, but yeah, I think they did that well to sort of like, they gave you a bit of that during the chase when you've got his commentary from inside the thing. You're like, okay, so they're doing a sort of, that's what they're going for. But yeah, and then just turned it on its head. So yeah, that was excellent. That was very well done. And I think they knew what they were doing.
Absolutely. They had to. So that's why that's my favorite scene. I guess to give some diversity to this talk, my second favorite moment would have to be when Gideon is just toying with Grogu.
Oh yeah, where he like kicks on the dark saber.
Fantastic acting from guy whose name I can't pronounce.
Giancarlo Esposito.
Esposito. Don't we have like an electronics salesman?
Like a block away.
Esposito.
Yes.
Are they related?
I hope.
All right, Esposito. I can do Esposito. Yeah, great acting.
He's so good. He's so good.
Menacing, you know?
Favorite moment that is not a fight is a really hard toss-up for me. One of my favorites, if I'm being completely honest, as the obnoxious Darth Vader fanboy that I am, the thinly veiled reference to him in Ahsoka's episode in The Jedi. It really works. Like, Star Wars, especially stuff around this era, likes to refer to Vader a lot, even when they don't use his name. I think, like, one of my favorites that's more subtle that, like, you might miss it, and I did miss it my first time playing it, like in Fallen Order, where Seer's talking about being tortured and shit by the Empire, and she mentions there was this dark shadow there. And the way she talks about it, at first you think she's being metaphorical. But like when I replayed it, and obviously there's the big scene with Vader, it occurs to you that no, she met Vader while she was being tortured. She's referring to a person. And I like that kind of like allusion to Vader as this force of nature. And here we kind of get the flip side of somebody who personally knew him, like knew the man who was inside of the machine. And the way that Ahsoka just says, you know, I've seen what it can do to a fully trained Jedi Knight, to even the best of us.
And you're like, Obi-Wan Kenobi?
Yeah. Yeah. I don't remember how profoundly it affected Qui-Gon Jinn, but that's okay. But
Yaddle?
yeah. Upper Rancis. Coleman Tripp. Okay, I'm done.
Evan Peele is Yoda's son.
Who?
We're keeping this bit into 2021 about how our like weird conspiracy about Evan Peele being the bastard child of Yoda and Maz Kanata. Okay,
Evan Peele is the short pink tan thing with the. He also has the ears.
He basically looks like Yoda if he were a white guy. Like he literally just has like white guy.
Yeah. Him. I think he is the child of Yoda and Maz Kanata. Because they're both old enough. Maz obviously knows about the Force. She had to have known Yoda. Right? Small galaxy. Apparently. I mean, like half the cast of the whole Star Wars universe is in The Mandalorian season 2. So.
Yeah, we'll come back to that, but maybe. But that sort of that Star Wars thing, it is like so a quick side thing. So Australia is the same size as the continental United States, and there's only 28 million people here. So, and you think, okay, 28 million people is still quite a lot of people, but you would be surprised at the amount of times you just kind of like everyone just fucking knows each other. Like my father-in-law. Before he retired, he was a butcher in a small town of 1,000 people. He travels pretty much anywhere in Australia. He will inevitably bump into someone he knows, or someone will go like, "Are you that butcher from such and such a thing?" Like, for fuck. I've been in restaurants with him, and someone's come over and been like, "Sorry to interrupt. Are you the butcher from Rushworth?" And I'm like, "Dude, I'm having a meal. Fuck off." But my father-in-law is obviously like, "Yeah, hello, John." Blah, 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 blah. And you're like, there's like 50 people in this whole country, and they all know each other. And that's what Star Wars is. It's like Star Wars is like this vast galaxy, but there's only 100 people. You know, and
I can't get over how much of a foreboding nickname the Butcher of Bushworth is. That's terrifying to hear. Like, are you the Butcher of Bushworth? I'm immediately calling the cops. But I mean, you know, we've talked to you. Clearly, he's a nice guy, but Jesus, that's just a scary sounding name.
I think it's just because we don't use butcher in our vernacular much.
That is also fair. That is very much a dialectical thing.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I used to live in Istanbul, in Turkey, and the word for butcher there is kesap. So now there's a thing in Turkey where if you have a mustache or a certain kind of mustache, like a quite an older man with a bushy mustache, chances are they think you're in the mafia. And my father-in-law has this mustache, and we taught him the word for butcher because he asked us. And we would go to places, and he would be trying to talk in Turkish to people, and then he would announce himself as "I am the butcher" with this mustache, and we would find ourselves getting into these really weird situations.
Beautiful.
That's magnificent.
And we would have to explain. They're like, "Oh no, he works as a butcher. He's from Australia, and and we're in this steakhouse once.
He cuts meats. He's not an enforcer.
He cuts animal meats. It's not like, because he's like, kesap, and then like miming, like using a knife. We're like,
that's amazing.
Stop doing that.
I love
we
that
don't have
so
enough Turkish
much
to get you through those. But yeah, we were in a steakhouse once, and he explained to them that he was the kesap, and they all kind of looked a bit, whatever. And then we explained, like, oh, no, he's a butcher, da-da-da. So next minute, we were all in the kitchens in this, like, you know what? Actually, it was the restaurant, Salt Bay, the
no
with
shit.
the guy with the. It was his restaurant. Like his restaurant was quite near to where I lived, and we were in his restaurant. And we didn't know who he was at this point. Like we only learnt this later. So we explained that he was a kesap and so on and so on. So they invited him into the kitchen. He's like sharpening knives and chopping up meat and all this. Yeah, he had the best time of his life. But for a split second, everyone thought, we were like, oh, we might get a free meal out of this because they're terrified of him.
That's amazing.
So, yeah.
That might be my new favorite story that's been told on any podcast in this network.
I never knew you lived in Istanbul. That's crazy.
No, I was an English teacher over there for like 3 years.
Dang.
I lived in Thailand, South Korea, and Turkey. And me and my wife's Australian, and I'm English, and we got married in Turkey. And then we moved to Australia.
Wow. Did you take time to like look at the city in those 3 years?
Oh yeah. No, it was actually we lived there for Well, you'd be surprised because like all the sort of big stuff like the Basilica and the Hagia Sophia and all that kind of stuff. It was always there, obviously, but we would just be like living our normal lives and exploring certain things and stuff. And then like a week before we left, we were like, we've never been to any of these tourist places. So we just had this one weekend where we were just like Hagia Sophia. Oh my God, it's beautiful. Right, get in a cab. We're going to the next place. Just like did them all as quickly as humanly possible. Like, but yeah, no, Istanbul was incredible. Just an incredible city. Which was like this amazing city that had the same population as all of Australia. So it's just very, very interesting to move from there to here. So yeah.
That's awesome.
That is so cool. I love every second of that story so much.
What's your favorite scene?
Yeah, so so like I said, like Ahsoka kind of like thinly referring to Anakin. It's definitely up there for me. I also really, really enjoy Din just playing with Grogu. We just go, hey, Grogu. And he just chuckled to himself because he was like answering the name and like making baby noises in response.
Yeah. And then doing the ball, wasn't it? He's like holding up the ball, Grogu.
Yeah.
And then like, just very cute.
Because at first I thought like he dropped the ball and Din got frustrated at himself, and that's what scared Grogu. I didn't realize that Din just got so excited that he caught it that he scared the baby, which is even more endearing, quite frankly.
I thought
the best part. Sorry,
so I thought he was mad because he still thinks that Grogu was ready to be trained by Ahsoka. That was my interpretation of it.
I thought he was. I thought he just got excited and like clapped his hands, and Grogu went, "Oh!" Like I thought that's what happened.
He says like dank ferric, doesn't he?
Yeah,
but I think it's kind of the equivalent of him being like, "Oh, hot damn," just kind of like he's excited.
Yeah, that's what I thought it was too. With like he gets excited and he gets so like puts too much sauce on it and freaks out the baby.
Okay.
Well,
I can be wrong.
The best part of that there was you had that whole sequence of just like him playing around and they're doing the ball and it's all very cute and all that, and then it just comes up like chapter 14, the tragedy. Like, oh, come on, man.
Oh well.
That said, I do want to say the goodbye between Grogu and Din. However, I will talk about it for too long and start crying because I was weeping the entire time. All like 3 or 4 times I've watched the episode, I've cried. And it was like the last time, as I watched it last with my sister that time. So we're sitting there, we're snuggling, whatever, we're watching it, and she's abundantly aware of the fact that I am like the most obnoxious movie crier. That like the dumbest, littlest things will make me start weeping when I'm watching something. And this was no exception. So like she could tell before I started, or it was like as like Din's holding Grogu, she kind of like glanced up at me, clearly with the face of, "Is this idiot crying yet?" And it was like just as the helmet comes off that she could like feel my chest go. She's like, "Are you crying?" I was like, "You already know the answer to that question." And it's just so beautiful, and seeing Din put his role as Grogu's father ahead of his Mandalorian that's the part that gets me the most, is that he's like, in his mind, I think up to that point there was a sense of, I am a warrior bound to get him where he has to be first, and like kind of its surrogate father second. And the moment he removes the helmet is the moment that those two things flip. And damn, it gets me. It gets me good.
Yeah. No, it's incredible. It's incredible. Like, I think a lot of people, like we were saying earlier on about the Luke thing, the worst fans in the world, like these idiot fans, and not just Star Wars fans, just these worst people. This blanket bubble term. They only have. This is massive generalization, but I think I'm right. This idea of like watching or enjoying or consuming entertainment on a completely surface level. Like, it's only surface. Whatever a character says, that's what they mean. If a character doesn't explain the motivations, what could those motivations possibly be? It's like this cinema sins watching of a thing. And I think the weirdest thing is that we should all be talking more about the Din Grogu goodbye, but there's like this weird thing of like, oh no, the point of that scene was to show Luke Skywalker. You're like, no, Luke Skywalker was cool, sparkly glitter around the scene that was Din and Grogu. And that's what we should be talking about. But again, it is just like this bullshit surface level, like, oh my God, that's the pretty thing. Let's just keep talking about that. And I think they've vastly missed the point. And unfortunately, they do have some of the loudest voices online. So they've kind of like overshadowed the conversation. Because that, if you told me a few years ago before Mandalorian started that after 16 episodes, we were going to get a scene where like a guy who looked like Boba Fett took off his helmet and was like explaining to a puppet that he would see him again, and it would be like the most emotional scene of the past couple of years, I would be very, very skeptical. But watching it, fantastic, just incredible. Like Pascal's acting was amazing. Grogu's acting was amazing. If such a thing is even possible.
I know exactly what you mean, and you're right.
Yeah, it just works. Like, because you know it's a puppet, and part of your brain knows, but part of your brain doesn't care, and that's the good thing. And to be honest, once those two started not necessarily started talking to each other, but once that sort of goodbye started, I didn't give a shit that Luke was there. Who cares? Like, he was just in the background. That was fine. It was this was what the whole show had been building up to, and that was incredible. It was incredibly well done, and it's a shame that it has been sort of overshadowed by people either weaponizing the Luke thing to be dickheads, or just not kind of seeing the fact that that's just sort of cool color for the background, which is a shame, because I think Pascal deserves more credit for being able to do that, to be able to emote and act so well, again, against a puppet, and create something that is heartbreaking. And people, like, I think on the live stream after we watched it, I'm pretty sure Matt did start kind of getting choked up talking about it. Like, it is something that is very, very effective, even after the fact. Like, going back on what I said at the start about saying, like, this show, I'm kind of interested in it in the moment, but afterwards I don't really think about it. That scene does recur to me. Like, it probably helps that my wife's 8 months and 1 week pregnant. So I'm very on that sort of idea of, like, fatherhood, and anything that involves like a father and a kid. I am very sort of like, that's kind of, because my kid's going to be born in like a month, which is, I don't want to talk about that. That's too incredibly terrifying and amazing to even think about. But Mandalorian's been a very cool thing for me to watch like sort of fatherhood and all that. But then to have it sort of get to that point where they have to say goodbye, you're like, oh no.
I will say there has been a lot of the dad's read of The Mandalorian where, friend of the show, Steele Saunders, like, there's a certain level of glee he gets when talking about Din and Grogu. That, like, and I've made jokes because I'm also a big fan of Mr. Sunday Movies and the Weekly Planet that he works with a lot too. That there's that, as a father, take a shot every time he says as a father on the show, and that's beside the point. Watching my dad watch The Mandalorian, and my dad, who is very much like to get a laugh, will make fun of the cute thing.
Oh yeah.
Is like when we saw The Last Jedi, it was like, oh, I hope the porg turns on the lightsaber, like that kind of thing. My dad, who just like aggressively was like, my father would die for Grogu. Like my father would lay down his life for the child. So I do think that there is something about being a father and this show that are so potent. Like, even I get really attached to Din as a big brother. Like, even that read of it, of like I'm not a parent, but like being an older sibling to somebody who is so much younger than me. As like I said before, like my little sister, she's 8, I'm 22.
Okay.
And like, I get that, like, you are tiny and I am big and the world is evil and I will protect you. Like, I get that. I get it. And that I'm getting choked up talking about it. Son of a bitch. I get that read of it and why it's such an emotional moment, and understand why so many other people get really worked up with that scene. So I 100% get it.
Yeah, it could have been done really badly. I think it could have been really kind of, it could have really messed up. But I think it's excellent. I think they've Grogu didn't talk. They've never turned to the camera and winked. They've always just been like, this little dude is a person in this show. It is not a cat. It's not a puppet. It's not a prop. Grogu is a character with motivations and wants and needs. Those wants and needs are, eggs and blue macaroons and protection from the Empire. But like, they've never done that thing of trying to make. Sorry to go off on a little tiny tangent.
No, not at all.
There is a little bit like too much, and superhero movies tend to do this quite a lot, of that sort of thing of like, any time that they go too far into like sincerity, they try and undercut it with a joke or with a pratfall or something like that. And I've been really impressed that Mandalorian's never done that. Like, it's had funny moments with Grogu, but it's never sort of gone to that point where it's like, oh, we're going to have, a big emotional moment between Din and Grogu, but at the end, Grogu is going to like puke on himself, or he's going to like reveal he's got another egg or something. It's like, no, we're going to play it completely straight, because that's what people want. There's too many times when you're sort of watching like watching a modern movie or a modern TV show, and a character will do like a big speech, and then they'll do something at the end just to kind of be like, okay, we were a little bit sincere, but now we're going to undercut it, because no one wants to be too serious or trying hard, because the world is full of cynicism, so we want to be doing that. And you're like, no, the world is a horrible, terrible place full of brute force and cynicism. So it's quite nice to have something that's kind of sincere and emotional. That's why I like Doctor Who. Doctor Who always kind of goes for like the big serious, like they'll always do the big sincere, cheesy moment. And I think Mandalorian did the same thing of like, they didn't try and like make Grogu this sort of punchline for the sake of it. It was like, no. When we need a serious thing, it'll be serious. When we need a joke, it'll be a joke. It's not going to be, we're not going to make him like fart when fucking Din says goodbye to him, you know, which I think is great. I think we need more of that.
I agree with you on that. As somebody who does a lot of defending of the MCU, I get why that does not work for people. And I will admit that there are entries in the MCU that do it a little too hard, that have that problem. And they could have botched the goodbye very easily. So, yeah.
Me and Matt, or I've been trying to write a video about Marvel humor and Star Wars for about a year now. I keep coming back to it because it keeps just kicking my ass. And I kind of keep going back to this one scene in Guardians of the Galaxy 2 where
my least favorite MCU movie. Thank you. I love where this is going already.
Do we have a bad take, Bell, yet?
Spoilers for that movie for listeners. So Ego says that he put a tumor in Peter Quill's mother's head. So Star-Lord pulls out his guns, blasts him. And it's like this incredible emotional moment in the cinema. I was like, Jesus, that's dark for it.
It's so violent the way that Quill is framed too when he starts shooting.
Yeah.
And it's just like this thing. And then like when Ego starts reforming himself, he turns into David Hasselhoff. And I was like, what? Why are you doing? What? Like, who's that joke for? Like, because it's not for the audience. Because not no one, but like the MCU's for like young children, so they're not going to know who David Hasselhoff is. Why did you need a joke in that moment?
I didn't think that was a joke.
Oh my god, I totally thought that was a joke.
No, I know that there's
the whole him turn into David Hasselhoff of all people.
That goes all the way back to his conversation with Gamora. Like he pretended David Hasselhoff was his father.
Yeah, no, I know it's kind of a callback,
there,
but it's just like in that particular scene, did you need it to happen, or was it to just undercut? Anyway, that's a different podcast. See, that's why this script's kicking my ass, because there's so many weird things with like Marvel humor. First off, just defining what it is, but then also finding like perfect examples. And for me, I thought that was a perfect example, but now it seems to be from your two reactions, it's not.
I agree that I don't like the Hasselhoff change in that scene. I think it's the reason why it doesn't work for me is because it's neither a joke.
Other way. This one.
That side. Okay, this has been said. This microphone's been kicking my ass the whole time. It doesn't work for me because it's neither a joke nor is it completely serious. Yeah, it tries to do both, and that's why that bit does not work for me. Is because okay, if we want to have a funny moment, cut in with the big reveal that Ego killed his mom. Fine. Because the MCU's done it and made it work before with that kind of like comedic reveal. Or completely play it serious. Don't try to do one or the other where like the joke also has a deeper meaning with it. That's what most of that is why Guardians 2 doesn't work for me.
They do it a lot, don't they? They do kind of like ooh and then joke. Ooh, joke. Yeah, it's kind of like And it's interesting. I think it's I don't know. I find that film quite weird as well because there's too many sort of like 80s and 70s references that I'm like, I get it, I get why, but remember who your audience is. I don't think there's many teenagers or young kids who are watching Guardians of the Galaxy and they know who Sam and Diane from Cheers is. But I guess that's part of the joke. Anyway, that film is too long.
I look forward to doing like a retro review of Goteg 2 with both of you on it now. Because that anyway, back to Star Wars. Different galaxy. Best fight, Levi.
We still have best fight, best supporting character, and hopes for season 3.
Sean, favorite fight. I don't know.
I like the Ahsoka and the Magistrate, the kind of the samurai movie, Kill Bill. Oh, another Tarantino. Yeah, the sort of, so you've got like that fight going on. You had like the Western gunfight about to happen outside the walls. I thought that was cool.
Alrighty. I is that yours too?
Yeah.
Yeah, same. I think it's better. I think it's the most interestingly choreographed. I've always said my entire, all like 5 of my lightsabers are like looking dead at us against the wall right now. Lightsabers are kind of my favorite thing about Star Wars. I love lightsaber combat. Going into The Mandalorian, one of the main conceits I had to make as a fan is that this would not be a show about the Force. It would not be a show about the Jedi. And that made it, it's Star Wars, so it's going to work for me. But it made it a tougher sell than most stories. So going in, getting to see Ahsoka Tano in a duel, beyond just the Darksaber being the only sword in the show, made me happy. I love the way it was choreographed. I love the way they brought Ahsoka's fighting style to life. Because most of that episode, Rosario Dawson is like holding them in like a normal grip, is just holding them straight up. But there comes a point in that fight where she goes into that reverse grip that Ahsoka is so famous for, and it made me that excited me. That small change in the stance was really entertaining. Just the fight as a whole, the sound design. I loved the environment. I absolutely loved it. Favorite. I don't want to say favorite. That and the Luke fight for me. And again, for Luke, it was seeing the way he was using the Force. Like it was one of the reasons why I enjoyed the Luke fight, and that scene was just seeing him calling on the Force in a way that felt really comic booky or video gamey, that like validates his appearances in other material, like Shattered Empire. Like there's that panel where he like lets out one giant force push and puts a whole corridor of stormtroopers on their ass. And for like logistical and special effects reasons, it's obvious why Luke isn't using the Force in combat in Return of the Jedi. Yeah. But like seeing his full capabilities where he's like not even using a physical, or barely even using a physical gesture, crushing the Dark Trooper completely. And like the way that he just immediately throws one into space without even looking at it. And the way he was chaining that into his his lightsaber sequences, that's really cool. And it's the same, and the choreography takes it for Ahsoka. Unilaterally,
definitely. In Return of the Jedi, you kind of just had to be there, for the first, when they all came out, to understand Luke's evolving, through the Force. Because like right away we see him using the Force choke, right? The only person who's done that is Darth Vader. So that's the sign that, Luke really is a Jedi master now, right? Because he's seemingly on par with Vader, right? But now that we see, the more just flamboyant, over the top Force stuff, it is really fun. We don't have to connect the dots or anything.
Yeah,
it's just good fun.
Yeah, they show here's Luke like picking somebody up and throwing them.
Yeah. So
anything else really for nice. Best fight? Because did we all just say exactly what the other one was thinking?
Yeah, I think so. It's Ahsoka and the Magistrate for me. I still don't understand why they act like they know each other.
I think it's just that like Ahsoka has been causing trouble.
That's stupid. Ahsoka was cutting down people without mercy, and then she gets to the one behind all of it, and suddenly she's respectful. No, that's dumb. That's just my opinion.
It's very like henchmen. Henchmen mean nothing, and then you get to the big baddie, and suddenly it's like this long thing. Or it's all we'll find out in Ahsoka.
Maybe
coming out in
maybe
2022 or whatever.
God, I can't believe we're getting an Ahsoka TV show starring friggin' Rosario Dawson. Jesus Christ.
Best supporting character is up next.
All right, Sean, favorite non-dinner Grogu character.
I think Moff Gideon. I think Moff Gideon's got he's not in the show as much as everyone else, but I can't go past Giancarlo Esposito. He's just incredible. He's just everything he's in, he's gold. And every time he appeared, even if it was just like a little cameo in a few episodes, he was amazing. I'm intrigued to see what happens now. Like if he's going to end up in like, I don't know how he's going to be in the third season. Is he going to be in some sort of like New Republic prison or something, or are they going to have to like? Is that going to be part of the plot of the new season to transport him somewhere or something? I don't know, but I think he's cool. He's hard to go past. And like new characters for this season, Cobb Vanth, incredible. Timothy Oliphant is amazing. Can't get past that either. Like I think he was just gorgeous.
There were a lot of people online getting moist for that man. Kind of put me off kilter.
I'm people.
Quite a lot of people.
Daddy Vanth. I can't disagree with anybody who's thirsting on Cobb Vanth.
He was definitely a cool addition.
I agree. I'm moving my chair a little bit so I can get a better angle with the mic. There we go. That's much better. So, Sean, any other honorable mentions or just Gideon on your part?
Gideon and Cobb, and that's it, I think, for me.
All righty.
Cool.
Levi?
I like Carl Weathers. We only saw him in one episode, but just to see how he changed, right? And how his relationship with Mando has changed. He's one of the crew now. He's in the squad. He's a good guy now, and he's turning that community into a better place. I thought that was really cool.
I love seeing the way that Navarro really changed.
Yeah, but he still has that like business side of him with the blue guy. That's pretty funny. So he's not changed completely, but and I think I like that. So that was really refreshing to see.
I think one of my honorable mention moments has to be whenever Grogu and Greef see each other. Where it's like, oh, let me see him. Is he being okay to you? Is he going? He's like, he said, yeah. Like, that's just so aggressively wholesome.
Yeah. I really liked his acting.
I think Greef, he made his brief appearance in some of the coolest outfit he wore.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the burgundy and the black. Ooh, be still my heart.
Yep. So that's my answer.
All right.
How about you?
Boba Fett.
You almost don't have a right to say that.
I almost don't have a right to. You're absolutely right. It is a strange world we live in. Followed by probably. It's Boba Fett, and then very close behind, tied for second, is Ahsoka and Cobb. As much as I have complaints about Ahsoka's appearance here, and really would like to see, and now we're getting the Ahsoka show, but there's a lot going on with her character in that episode that I want answers to. And now knowing that we're getting a spinoff all about her, I can live with the fact that she feels a little bit off in that episode. And then maybe we'll figure out how we got there in the Ahsoka show. So knowing that there's a show coming for her brought her way up for me. And then like you guys were saying, between Timothy Oliphant's performance and the novelty of canon canon character from a book showing up in like the big TV show, that on its own just makes me very happy. So it's probably those three, and then I can't even list Gideon here. He's just in a league of his own. Like, just again, his performance. And another moment I wanted to talk about with the fight stuff, even though Gideon isn't the one who does it, Din's little donkey kick of the spear while they're fighting, where he like that's the only way I can say it, just like donkey kicks it back around his hand.
Somehow works.
It's so silly.
Yeah.
And Gideon is so vicious and just such an amazing villain. So it's kind of the Mandalorian's biggest weakness, but also its biggest strength is like the ensemble. In my opinion, is it like we were saying, where it kind of turns into here's Din Djarin and all his really interesting friends, but also here's Din Djarin and all his really interesting friends. Like, I kind of love it, and can go either way on whether or not I think it's good or not. That's the case, but yeah.
Yeah, fair enough.
Okay.
What do we have last? Like once for season 3?
Hopes and predictions for season 3.
All right. Hopes and predictions for season 3, Sean. All yours.
Yeah, I think, I don't know, it's hard to predict what the Mandalorian without Baby Yoda looks like. But if it's going to be sort of following this the plot line of like the Darksaber and all that, and kind of like ruling Mandalore, I think that's going to be really interesting. It's going to be, interesting to see how it ties into these new shows. I'm sort of hoping that they recast Gina Carano with someone who isn't a bag of dog shit. That would be super cool.
That's been my favorite verbiage so far.
I don't know. I think I want. It's hard to. I want less. I think this season was sort of very cameo heavy. I think it was a lot of like, which turned out to be afterwards. You kind of like, okay. So I think this was it was kind of a bit of a backdoor pilot-y season. There was a lot of like, okay, let's introduce some characters and give them a TV show.
It's like Iron Man 2. It's really like Iron Man 2.
Is Iron Man 2 the whip guy?
Yes, that is the one with the whip guy. But it also is like, okay,
favorite movie.
And a lot of people agree with you, but it's also one that goes, okay, here's S.H.I.E.L.D., here's Black Widow, here's Nick Fury, here's War Machine, here's like the idea of the Avengers Initiative. And it's like they use Iron Man 2 basically to exist as a this trampoline like for everybody to jump off from. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And that's now looking back, like when they had the big like the investors announcement, I was like, okay, so there's an Ahsoka show, and that's why her character was not quite there in her own show. Now there's going to be a Boba Fett show, so that's sort of like why maybe he wasn't involved so much in some of the bigger action sequences towards the end. And it's like, okay, well, I don't want the show to be that. I don't want Mandalorian to exist to just like audition characters for their own spin-offs. That's no good. I want to see more of the mask being off. I want to see more jumping into how Mandalorian's been brainwashed by a cult, which is a theory. You can check out a video on our channel, Blue Bantha Milk Co, about that, where we posit that the Armorer is actually the big villain of this show because she's a cult leader. But we'll get back into we can talk about that on a different podcast. So yeah, I'm just predicting. I'm just hoping that, and I trust that they're not going to, but I'm hoping that Favreau and Filoni don't look at like the massive positive compliments or whatever to Luke appearing and sort of think, we want more of that, because the diminishing returns will kick in incredibly quickly on that. That needs to be something that you just do once and that's it. Or if you're going to do it again, wait a few seasons. before you introduce like some mad, before you bring in, Han Solo or something, and it's like whatever. Unless it was Alden Emmerich. No, that wouldn't work. That's absurd. I'm getting my timelines mixed up. But yeah, I want.
I wouldn't mind it, but I understand what you mean.
It'd be quite weird. Yeah, I want less backdoor pilots and more sort of streamlined plotting from point A to point B. And I'm not saying that kind of like the show is full of like filler episodes. I don't believe that. I think when people who are complaining that the show is all filler episodes, you're like, okay, well, if you're complaining that there's more filler episodes than plot episodes, that might just be the show. At this point, that's just what the show is. It's 16 episodes. It's 8 episodes a season. If you think more are filler episodes than less, then that is just what the show is. They're not filler episodes. It's just the show. It's not like Lost when we had an episode where we got the origin story of Jack's tattoos. This is just what the show is. It moves like a video game with side quests and planets and stuff like that. It's Adventure of the Week, but we're used to Adventure of the Week shows having like 24 episodes. So you kind of really get a sense like, oh, that's why it's spread out so far with occasional, like the X-Files where they do like monster, UFOs, monster, Mulder's sister, and you sort of kind of, it felt more whatever. Whereas with this only having 8 episodes, I think people are kind of grating against that sort of Adventure of the Week, but that's just what the show is.
I agree with you a lot that there is like an expectation that I like the way The Mandalorian balances plot heavy with Adventure of the Week. And
that's just what it is.
Yeah.
I think it does it better than Supernatural, at least. That's just my personal bias. I liked it more when it was just Adventure of the Week, but...
Well, I know, and specifically what you were saying with the video game thing, that is... I know I've said that before. I heard that talked about when I was listening to last week's Around the Galaxy. That is it's paced like a video game, that it's a little side questy. And, you meet the character, then you come back, you bring the character back. It feels like a video game. And it's a really weird feeling, but I don't dislike it. So very, very astute observation, my friend.
Well, it helps. I've just actually played through Knights of the Old Republic for the first ever time. And so that was interesting where you kind of like, you've got your little crew of dudes and you can interchange who your crew is. And then you'd meet someone, you'd be like, hi, I need this. And they'd be like, cool, I can give you that. But first you have to journey here and get me this. And I'm like, oh, this is The Mandalorian, which is fine.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat where I'm forcing myself to play Jedi Academy because I've had it like on my Xbox for a minute and I've only played like the versus mode. But reading all the High Republic stuff put me really in the mood to play Jedi Academy for no reason. So I feel that. Levi, hopes and predictions for season 3.
Sean kind of touched on it. I would like the Mandalorian to run into his band of cultists again, just to see will he revert back to his old ways? Is he going to have beef with them? Is he going to take his helmet off in front of them? Right. So that would be cool. I do want it to be focused on Din again, and like bring it back to focus, instead of expanding everything in preparation of multiple spin-offs. Maybe at most hint more at what Thrawn is about to do. Maybe that would be something they can throw in there. As little breadcrumbs for people who care. If they were to make more people canon, I think The Mandalorian would be a great place to throw in Dash Rendar. It's about time they got him canonized again.
I love that there are certain people in this network who have certain hills that they are going to die on. And I stand by you for this hill.
He's just better.
He's right there.
Yeah.
He's right there.
Yeah, it's I don't know why people like Han Solo so much and then take a dump on Dash Rendar. I don't know. I don't get it.
I hope he ends up in Mando. I really do. For you, I hope it happens.
Like they can even follow part of the plot line of Shadows of the Empire. Like he's already supposed to be dead, so he's using like an alias like Hassad Radner, which is just his name flipped backwards. You could do
You're
it.
right.
And
you're
then
right.
the people
Or you
looking
could
at
even
that will be
adapt.
like, oh,
You could even adapt the story, put it after Return of the Jedi. And it's the same basic plot of him being involved in the same kind of conspiracy.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
Right? Mando needs to get from point A to point B. He doesn't have his ship anymore.
Yeah, we got.
Yeah.
Dash Rendar, he was a mercenary smuggler, right? Just throw him in there. But it's not going to happen. I know it's not.
Hey, don't forget, Dash is canon.
His ship is canon. His ship model is canon.
The Outrider is canon, and there is a smuggler named Dash Rendar somewhere.
Really? When did this happen?
It was in like a solo source book that he's mentioned by name. So there is a Dash Rendar.
Cool.
And his ship does exist.
Good.
The same way that there is a Revan.
Yes.
What-
which
that-
I was quite impressed by now that I've played Knights of the Old Republic 1.
Yeah, Revan is a cool character. He gets talked about by the worst type of fan too much, but he is still great.
He's
Well, like I say,
amazing.
I'd never played the game, and I know there's a lot of like the Raylo element towards the Bastilla and Revan love story. So the amount of like Raylo live streams I ended up on, and people be like, I mean, it's just like Bastilla and Revan. I'd be like, yeah, it is.
The shrug.
I mean, this obviously can't be season 3 of Mandalorian, but we need a show just about dark side users.
I think that's what we're getting with the Acolyte.
I think so, yeah. I'm not sure in what capacity, but yeah.
Getting to the end of Light of the Jedi, and I'm not going to be too specific because I know you still want to read it, Levi.
It's fine.
And I am reading it. So,
I was going to say, I'm not sure where Sean is in it.
The chapters to go.
By the end of Light of the Jedi, my theory that I went into the High Republic with, that like in Legends, the Sith are kind of like a weird dark side Illuminati. That every time shit hit the fan in Legends on the galactic stage, they either orchestrated it, let it happen, helped it happen, or once it did happen, made it worse.
Okay.
Because in that very Game of Thronesian chaos is a ladder, they made shit happen. They were power brokers. That was the whole point of the Rule of Two and going into hiding. And the CIA. I am still convinced that the Sith are doing something that is helping the Nihil. I am like 100% convinced. I don't think the Nihil are working for the Sith. But I think the Sith have something to do with it and are just making their lives a little bit easier, helping them kill some Jedi, helping them wreck some shit, because a more unstable galaxy is a galaxy that's easier to be taken over.
So the hungry plants, they haven't come up yet, right?
No, I think they're called like the Drengir or whatever they are. They don't.
Vong.
No, they don't show up in Light of the Jedi. I think that's something that's either going to be in whatever the next adult novel that's coming out is. It hasn't come up in the young adult novel yet.
Into the Dark or something?
Yeah, Into the Dark. That's what that one's called. And then Test of Courage, the YA one, They haven't shown up yet. But they are in a forest, so they might be in that.
Oh, maybe.
And I haven't gotten to them yet, but
they'll be interesting. I don't have high hopes for those ones though.
The Yuuzhan, how do you pronounce that? Yuuzhan Vong.
Yuuzhan Vong, I think.
Yuuzhan Vong.
Yeah, they had like sentient ships or whatever, right?
Yeah.
It just reminds me of that.
Well, we so Matt and I, again, sorry, tangent and slight self-promotion. Matt and I have a thing coming up, which you can check out on our channel. We took an AI program and we fed it the 9 Star Wars saga scripts, and it produced for us with some prodding at episode 10 that we're going to we got a cast. We're going to perform it on our channel on this weekend, actually. So please check that out. And I'm narrating it. Matt's playing a few characters. We've got people from the Imperial Senate podcast, Star Wars Explained, Broaxium, and Force Toast. They're all coming in to read parts. And somehow, just by feeding the AI the 9 scripts, something has come up with the Yuuzhan Vong in the script. Which I don't know how. The AI has found it somehow. And I was sort of like, oh yeah, they're the dudes who appeared in the like kind of the final Star Wars
Mike.
canon Legends book or whatever.
Yeah.
So I'm like, how the shit do you pronounce that? So that's sort of, so I would definitely say like we're going to do it in 2 parts. It is feature length. It is movie length. It has a wide variety of characters from Star Wars, living, dead, new, old. It has produced a bunch of characters who are brand new. It doesn't quite have a great grasp of Star Wars names. So we do have a new character who's called like Ord Trakar. Like, okay, that's a cool Star Wars name. But then you do have a character who's called Agent Drooly. So that's just a character who briefly appears.
Isn't there like a Jennifer or something in there like that?
Jessica.
Jessica, yeah.
Is a character. Fabio is the character.
Oh my god.
Name.
Fabio.
Nicholas Friedolf, which I think is an incredible name. But yeah, so please, check that out. So now that I know how to pronounce Yuuzhan Vong, I'm not going to make a fool of myself when I get to those.
There we go.
Vong.
I think it's funny.
Came out of the Yuuzhan Vong.
Because this will be going up this coming Sunday. Is when this goes up. Oh. So this makes for like a hilarious companion piece if you get all the way to the end of like, and that's how we learned how to say Yuuzhan Vong. There's how that happened.
Well, this will be, so I guess if when people are listening to this, you'll have missed part 1, so go back and watch part 1, but then part 2 is coming out Valentine's weekend. So you've got like 2 weeks to prepare. And yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. It's if you go on our Twitter and our Facebook and our Instagram, actually now, you can read the opening crawl. So all you have to do for this program basically is feed it all the scripts, feed it an opening crawl, and then press go, and it just does it. And you have to sort of stop it from losing its mind occasionally because it will get stuck. There's a whole thing where 2 characters are talking and one says, this is a trap. This isn't who you are. And the other person says, it's not a trap. It is who I am. And the character replies, this is a trap. This is not who you are. It isn't a trap. And it just keeps doing that. You're like, okay. So you got to stop it and then kind of start it again. Or sometimes you have to just kind of put like exterior, Yavin 4, day, go, and then it'll just kind of go from there and it'll find. But sometimes it's insane, and sometimes it's great. Like sometimes it has like legitimately good lines of dialogue, and sometimes it is insanity. The treatment of C-3PO and how that character is in there and the things that character does is pretty insane. So please definitely check it out. It's gonna be amazing.
Who's reading for 3PO again? I can't remember.
Charlie Ashby from Imperial Senate.
I was to say, it's because I remember laughing for a good 15 minutes at the post of Alex and like full like Biggs Darklighter cosplay with just Kylo Ren.
Yeah. Yeah. It's Yeah, Matt did all those, and he said to me, "Right, I need a picture of you." And I was like, "Yeah, no worries." So I was like, I just got my wife, and I was like, "Right, I'm gonna put my Jar Jar Binks t-shirt on. I'm just gonna stand by the wall. I'm the narrator, so I'll just be like hands behind my back and all that." I was like, because I hadn't seen anyone else's photos yet, and then when I sent it back to Matt, he was like, "You can use a prop or anything like that." And I was like, "No, it's fine. I'm about to go out for dinner anyway, so if this works, it'll be fine." And he's like, "Cool. This is what Alex sent me," and then just sent me that picture. I was like, holy shit. So then what was the point of me even taking a picture? I was never going to top that.
What I really badly need to know, though, is like, did Alex just have that picture on hand? Or did he get a message from you guys, look at Molly and be like, I need to put on the suit and the mustache right now, be right back?
Oh, no, that is, I believe, a legitimate mustache. I think he grew that for when they were doing...
that's okay. So that's definitely from Squadrons. Wow. Okay. Yeah, that's definitely a Squadron stash then.
Yeah, so he must just have that photo just in case. That's just like... When he had the mustache and the full flight suit, he must have been like, better take a picture of this just in case. So, yeah.
I love that so much.
Alex is just like a hero. I just kind of like, every time I see him, just like, this is like a dude who has just like taken being a big nerd and managed to turn it into like an empire. And he's just got like, Molly's like, him and Molly are just incredible. And yeah, no, I'm just like, Alex, he's just a mensch, just a good dude. Like he's just one of there's so many people who you just think, oh, this person's this or this person's that. Like there's so many people in this kind of small community who are a bit weird. And just like Alex and Molly, just like, yeah, just good people. Yeah, great. Can't speak highly enough of them.
They're absolute sweethearts and a shining light in this community. And I cannot wait to get the chance to work with them so badly because Again, like I look up to them, I've said it before, we're huge Schmodown fans around these part on a gradient.
Of course,
yeah. But like he's, I'm a fan of his for his run as Star Wars champion. But before he's the reason why I started watching the Schmodown because I knew he was competing.
Yeah.
So absolutely. I can't wait for that. Obviously, all our friends at Bro Axiom are going to be there for that. Chris is playing Finn. I know Dan is playing a newer character and the Padawan. I'm going to pretend I don't know who the Padawan is.
Okay.
I was going to say, like, the post makes it very obvious with the silhouette, but I don't know how much is attempting to be kept under lock and key. So, yeah, lots of our pals around here.
There's a lot of twists. There's a lot of like characters taking off. Like there's a point where one character takes off a mask and is another character, has some dialogue, and then takes off another mask. So there's a lot of that.
Beautiful.
Oh my gosh, I cannot wait. With that, I think that's all we have for you guys this week. So, Levi, where can the lovely people find you, my friend?
They can find me at the usual spot on Twitter at Levi_Baum, pronounced bomb, but spelled Baum, because I'm American.
Yeah. I'm an American, damn it.
Americanization. Jarod.
Yes.
Because I assume... No, we can...
yeah, I'm just going to...
Sean.
Yeah, reiterate, Sean, where can the lovely people find you and Blue Bantha Milk Co.? Because... anybody who misses out on any of the fun of episode 10 is missing a lot.
Yes, and we've already started the project that's going to come next, which is top secret, but it's just top secret. But it's a sequel that people have been wondering about in the Star Wars world, and I'll just leave it at that. So yes, we are Blue Bantha Milk Co. You can find us on Twitter. I think it's at Blue Bantha Milk. Facebook as well, just Blue Bantha Milk Co. And YouTube. Like and subscribe. If you go on our page now, you can see the post for the live stream for episode 10. Both parts are up, so you can kind of set yourself a reminder. It's like 10 a.m. 31st of January in Australia, but I don't know what that means in America, and I think it's like late night in England. But please, when you go on there, the website should tell you what's what. But yeah, tune in. So it's going to be in 2 parts. It's going to be pretty amazing. I can't. I know I can't kind of. It's going to be amazing, and I don't want to ruin any of it. So yeah, it's just going to be incredible.
Oh, so
yeah.
What time is it right now?
In Australia, it's nearly 9 a.m.
9 a.m.
1 hour from now.
Be about 6
p.m. on a Saturday night for you.
So it's 5 p.m. Yeah, so that would be 6.
Yeah.
So we can't go, COVID's kept us out of the movie theaters, but Blue Bantha Milk Co. is going to bring that to you, sort of, but not really.
Blue Bantha Milk Co. Plus.
That's it, exactly.
All right.
But yes, please, everybody, go check this out. Go watch it. Like, subscribe, do all the things for Blue Bantha Milk Co. There are buddies, just like everybody else pretty much. I think Imperial Centipede and Star Wars Explained are the only folks you guys have on that we haven't directly worked with yet. Both of which we all want to very badly at some point in the near future. But yeah, we obviously the homies from Bro Axiom, also from Pennsylvania. You guys have Alice from Forced Toast on there.
We do.
You got a lovely cadre of content creators.
Where are the Carbonite convos?
They're also Pittsburgh. They're actually closer to us than Bro. Yeah.
Yeah. I would like to be on an episode with them.
I keep forgetting you always miss the Carbonite Convos episodes.
Carbonite Convos and the Bombad cast. I always miss.
It's such a shame every time, too. But with that, guys, you guys can find me on Twitter and Instagram at DarkJedi2552, and you can find the Nerd Academy podcast on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. Oh, my back. And wait, what did I say? Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and on our website, www.thenerdacademypodcast.com, where if you're feeling generous, you can donate to our Patreon page. Speaking of our patrons, thank you to our $10 alumnus, Case and Brion, the Waffle Wizard, Delta 9, and Zach Canals. You guys help us make the content that we love to produce. Be sure to also check out the $5 tier. That's more your speed, where you get access to the Knights of the Nerd Republic Versus series, Heroic History 101, and the audio commentary tie-ins for the Nerd Academy Movie Club. On the $10 tier, you get Movie Club and Campus Life a week early, as well as the benefits of all the other tiers. If you would like to support us further, you can check out the student store link on our website to look at our TeePublic, where you can get a lovely giant Nerd Academy pillow like Levi is holding up. I feel so bad that Sean can't see us and see the giant pillow.
Not used like this one is.
Yes.
It'll be brand new.
It'll be brand new, not with my big ass indenting it. Yeah, so you get all manner.
Nothing can be as bad as the Reed incident.
There's a couch in my grandmother's basement with a permanent ass crater in it, caused by a Star Wars marathon and one of our friends who literally did not move for at least 3.5 movies. So just the shape of his ass was like permanently.
Jesus.
Yeah, I don't know how it happened, but he made it happen.
He just stood up and it was just. Well,
that is just power of will. Just like, I'm staying here until
it was something.
There's no divide between my ass and the couch.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. And for those of you who are new to the Nerd Academy, please be sure to check out the other shows in our network. We obviously have our main show, the Nerd Academy Podcast, where we talk all things nerddom. We have the Nerd Academy Movie Club, which is a bi-weekly show where we talk about older movies, a different theme every month. Campus Life on the weeks that you're not getting Movie Club, which is a show where we all sit down and riff a little. And obviously, Knights of the Nerd Republic, our Star Wars show. And don't forget about one of our other newer shows, the Number One Contender Podcast, which is a brand new Schmodown after show, which will be going up on Saturdays to help you guys break down the week in Schmodown. With that, we are honored that you have all joined us, and may the Force be with you always. Gotta find
always.
the message.